afternoon, and thanks for coming to Jumpstart's monthly expert-led webinar series. Today with Jordan Miller from Systems by Jay on using para systems to ease growth. I'm Lauren Smith-Petta, and I serve as Jumpstart's Director of Education. Also joining us today is Tylen Nash-Howard, the Learning Center Media Coordinator at Jumpstart's Verizon Centers, who will be wrapping up for us today. Jumpstart strives to provide you with access to the knowledge and resources you need to make your small business bigger and better. Visit our website to explore some of our other educational opportunities for small businesses and tech companies. Before I introduce our presenter today, a few housekeeping items. This presentation session will be 60 to 90 minutes or so, with time set aside for Q&A. Jordan may ask you to participate throughout, so please place your comments in the chat. Please also make sure your responses are going to everyone, not just hosts and panelists. You may need to change this selection in the chat. You can also see the Q&A, which is a great place to put your questions as they occur to you and to ensure we can address them at the end. Also, at the end of today's session and in a follow-up email, you'll receive a brief survey. You know that this is our currency if you've been to more than one webinar, and we really appreciate your feedback. It allows us to continue to bring in high-quality experts and entrepreneurs to teach valuable lessons. All right, so without further ado, allow me to introduce our presenting subject matter expert today. Jordan Miller is the founder of Systems by Jay, an executive coach and business consultant specializing in operational clarity, systems design, and founder performance. He helps overwhelmed founders, leaders, and teams get aligned, automate busy work, and scale with confidence using Notion and the Para method, along with other technologies that integrate seamlessly into your existing tech stack. His work has helped clients cut their workload in half, improve delegation, and turn scattered ideas into real traction. In this session, he'll show you how to turn Para and Notion into a streamlined business system. So as usual, we here have a true subject matter expert in the craft. Jordan, over to you and welcome.
Hey, thank you for the introduction. So before we begin, if you would like to participate, I highly recommend and invite everyone to grab a pen or paper. And if you do have the option to, grab your cell phone, scan the QR code, and you'll find out why in just a second. So throughout the webinar, there's these tiny little stick people hidden in the slides. And the game is to count how many you can find. And at the end, you'll be able to submit your guess. And something I would like to do for everyone that is interested is give them 2 hours of free consulting. And I'll give everyone just a couple seconds to scan the code if you feel like participating. So why Para? And as you know through the introduction, my name is Jordan Miller, and I provide coaching and consulting services. And over time, after working with a number of clients, I realized something about myself personally. And what I realized that it wasn't just enough for me to give people good advice or educate them on a new strategy, methodology, or framework. So what I started to do was turn those frameworks and methodologies into practical tools and workflows inside of Notion. Once they were inside Notion, I could then share them with my clients to kind of fast track them into whatever direction they were wanting to go. And something else I realized while working with my clients, and that's what takes us to our next slide. My clients were stressed, overwhelmed, disorganized, didn't have enough time, and they could never find that one file that they put somewhere when they needed it the most. And the thing is, it wasn't just my clients, it was me too. The more clients I took on, the busier I got, the more I had to manage, the more stressed I became. And the thing is, these hurdles or limiting factors that we were faced with, they didn't stop us from moving forward, but they did slow us down. So I went on a journey to find a solution. And I discovered two things: a cause and a solution. And one of the causes that really jumped out to me was this little bit of information here, which is scientific studies have shown that an average human brain intakes approximately 74 gigs of data per day. So think about everything you're experiencing, learning, trying to remember, intaking into your mind and converting that into the form of data, and it equals out to about 74 gigs per day. And my initial thought was, if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably consuming more than that. And something I've always enjoyed in the past is building and tinkering with computers. Over the course of my life, I've probably built more than 20 computers for friends, families, and some local businesses in my area. And just knowing how storage affects digital devices, my mind just naturally started to go in this direction. And just this is just like a little overview or picture of how a computer kind of works and is put together. So your processor processes actions. As an example, someone throws a ball your way, it sees the ball and decides to take an action. Do you block it? Do you catch it? Whatever it decides to do, it then tells the RAM to carry out that action. So ball coming towards you, put your arm up to catch. Once you've caught it, the hard drive remembers the rules of the game. So it finds and stores data based on past experiences. So you caught the ball, and now it's up to the hard drive to do something with it. Do I save it? Do I throw it again? Do I tell the processor to throw again? What do I do with this thing? And the question I have for all of you that would like to participate is, what happens to your computer or phone when the storage gets maxed out? And I'll give everyone a little bit to put in their answers if they are participating. If you weren't able to scan the code, you can go to menti.com and just put in the code at the top of the slide. Crash is a good one. It does happen a lot. And all these answers are correct. And I'm sure we have all experienced this at some point in time, especially with our phones. And again, going back to my thoughts, so if your forage is full or disorganized, or your mind is overloaded, it's like your memory is foggy or cluttered. It becomes slower to access the info you need, which results in a slower or incomplete action when a task is assigned. And when you're stressed or overwhelmed, even the smallest task can feel like you're moving a mountain. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably consuming more than 74 gigs of data. You're juggling your day-to-day responsibilities while learning how to run your new business. And if you're by yourself, you're probably wearing every hat there is inside your business, from marketing to admin to operations. Maybe you have a day job and you're managing that. You have your home life while still building this new venture. You're now creating new relationships, you're growing a new network, you're managing that network, and you're trying to attract new leads. And maybe you already have a business and it's running fine and smoothly. But if you want to grow that business, you have to learn again. And you learn and experiment with new strategies to grow or scale. And now you have to figure out how to implement those strategies you just learned. And you're also trying not to burn out and balance that work-life balance. And a new question: have you ever felt slowed down by mental overload? So it's a common thing, not even common, but I believe every human has experienced this at least once in their life. And that takes us into our next topic, which serves as part of a solution. And the topic is knowledge management. So, what is knowledge management? To put it simply, it's the management of the 74 gigs of data your brain is consuming each day. And what good or proper or better knowledge management does for us, it increases our ability to recall information, increase mental capacity, reduce mental fog, improve focus, increase output, and operate at higher levels. And that is where the para methodology kind of comes in. So there's two strong use cases for para that I have used and I'll say played around with or built the para structure around, that I believe are the strongest, and that is Life OS and Business OS. By OS, I'm not talking about the operating system like Windows or Mac. I'm talking about an operational system or framework for your life or for your business. We'll touch a little bit on Life OS, but we'll dive deeper into Business OS later on. So, what is para? Para is a framework created by productivity expert Diego Forte, and it's designed to help you organize digital information more effectively. And by understanding the rules of para, you can place all the activities of your life or business into 4 different categories. And those categories are projects, areas, resources, and archives, for the acronym of para. And why is this important? So para gives you a place to offload a large portion of the 74 gigs of data you're consuming into an organized and easy to access place. If you can think about taking the things that are overloading your mind. Maybe it's stressors or things overwhelming you, or it's just cluttered, and putting them into a bucket and forgetting about it. You can always go back to that bucket at some point in time whenever you actually need to use it. And but by offloading this information, you end up creating more mental bandwidth for you to operate more efficiently and cleanly, similar to how a digital device would. And a favorite quote of mine by Albert Einstein is never memorize something that you can look up. What's the point? If you can go and look it up very quickly and you know where it is and it's not going to take you hours to search for it, what's the point of memorizing it? And this slide just kind of ties into what I spoke about earlier with putting those things in a bucket to free up that mental space, giving you more mental bandwidth. And just kind of reiterating a previous slide, by understanding the rules of para, you can place all the activities of your life or business into 4 different categories. So each category of para holds a certain level of actionability. And by actionability, I mean you can pick it up immediately and take action or do something productive with it. And as for the rules, and you can kind of look at these like folders, placing the things in your mind or organizing these files that you're holding or storing in your memory as folders. So we have project folders, areas, resources, and archives. So projects are active tasks with a deadline. An example in your life, it might be go get groceries on Tuesday. Business, it might be send an email at 4:00. It's a task and it has a deadline. After 4:00 comes, the email is sent. There's nothing more to do with it. Areas are ongoing responsibilities without end dates. An area in some people's lives might be fitness. It's ongoing. It has no end date. You can do your fitness today, but you're most likely going to do it the next day or next week and so forth until you can no longer do fitness anymore. And resources are reference materials and information you might need someday. An example of this would be contracts or photos in your phone or last year's tax returns. You keep them because you need them and they might seem valuable to you, but you don't really take action on them very often, if at all. And then you have archives, which are inactive or completed items from the other categories. When a project is finished, instead of deleting it, put it in archives. If you're done with an area and you're no longer going to be using it anymore, put it in your archives. The reason why I recommend people not completely deleting things every time or even right away is in today's digital age, we all have access to massive amounts of cloud storage. And a lot of the times, say you're doing a project and there's these little hurdles and intricate things you have to overcome to get the project done. Well, if you do another project that's similar, you can then go back to see how you overcame those hurdles and get over the new ones a lot quicker and easier just by looking up something that you've already done in the past. So what does para look like? And this is a screenshot of my Google Drive. And how my Google Drive looked before this was atrocious. There was just oodles of files and folders and documents and images and PDFs. And when I needed to go and look for something, I just scroll and sit there and scroll and scroll and scroll. And it'd take me 15, 20 minutes sometime just to find a file. Sometimes I wouldn't find it at all. And we have all, at some point in time, sent an email saying, hey, I can't find that thing that you sent me last week. Could you resend it? But by organizing my Google Drive into these 4 different areas, when I go to look for something now, it's what area or category is it in? Is it a project, an area resource, or an archive? And then I can go and look for it. And I cut down that time instantly just based off of what category it's in. And inside the categories, you can then have more folders that help you narrow down exactly what you're looking for. And here's another picture of this is a mind map application that I use. It's board mix similar to Miro, but again, I organize everything inside of there by projects, areas, resources, and archives. And here's an example of Para inside Notion. This is more of a Life OS setup. And you can put whatever you want into these. And below, you'll see the little, looks like a Kanban board, Trello type setup that is a task manager as well in there. So an example of what a Life OS might look like. We now know what projects, areas, resources, and archives are, but what does it look like inside the areas portion? And as far as Life OS goes, and I had just talked about this with a client last week, I do believe, or 2 weeks ago. She was trying to do something similar, and I think she was up to 20 or more areas in her life. And I just kind of helped her simplify it a little bit by framing it this way. And areas of life, I like to keep simple because I want my life to be simple. I don't want to manage, say, 20 different areas of my life. When you think about it, the way this Life OS specifically is set up, I have health to take care of. I need to stay alive. I have wealth to take care of. I need to buy stuff. There's more than one person in this world, so I have relationships. There's spirituality or a belief system, and education, which you can kind of swap out for personal development. You can either look at it that way or completely swap it. And then you have hobbies. And this to me is what I would consider a full life. If I'm taking care of these things, this is the life that I'm managing. And everyone's is going to look different because everyone's life is different. And how do you take this para methodology into a practical framework? The first thing to do is pick a platform, whether it's Google Workspace or Microsoft Suite, a mind map, or Notion, which we'll dive into later. Just pick something. Or maybe you have multiple applications or things that you can use. Maybe it's just a notes app in your phone and you want to capture your thoughts and put them in an organized way. The next thing I would recommend people to do is to first start with your projects. There aren't too many people that are going to have thousands of projects going on simultaneously. This is the smallest thing that you would have to import or get set up. Usually it is 5 to 10 or even less. After your projects are set up, you can define your areas. Again, start small, keep it simple, identify what areas are most important to you, and be honest with yourself. I say be honest with yourself because when I first started setting up and using Para, I put in all these different areas where I was like, I'm going to do this. And I was all excited and because I could track and take care of whatever it was I was doing. 48 hours passed and I did nothing with it. I was not using it whatsoever. Keep things simple. Start with what you're using now and currently are doing. And step 4 is bring in the resources. This is the biggest portion of Para. I would not be surprised if some of you have thousands, tens of thousands of resources that you can bring in and organize. I do recommend you start with what is the most used or most important and just use that system. Leave the rest where they are and bring them in as you need them. And the purpose or the reason why I show you all these different applications and or Para used in these different applications is just to show you it is a methodology and it can be used anywhere across anything. You could use it with actual hard copy documents in your file cabinet if you would like. So, types of businesses that I have worked with and set up Para systems with are photographers, marketing agencies, coaches and consultants, college students, SaaS agencies, and university educators. Para isn't just for one type of person. It can be used anywhere by anyone. My brother-in-law, he actually uses Para for his fishing tournaments. He goes to a lot of fishing tournaments and he has Para set up in a way that if the weather is one way when he shows up, he can open up his little database or his folder and see all the types of lures he should use for this specific weather or day that he's faced with. You can use it for anything. And do you have any questions currently before we move on?
I don't see any, Jordan.
Okay. Fair enough. And you guys can have fun with this and counting all the stick people. This I'm curious about. People keeping secrets. We shall see. We shall see. So why use Para for business? People are entities and businesses are too. In the same way how our minds can get overloaded, our businesses can also get overloaded. Businesses thrive on clarity, and without it, momentum in businesses will fade away, and teams or employees, their energy gets spread too thin, and both of those will end up resulting in slow growth. So, 6 reasons why startups fail. And the reality is, whether you're just starting out or your growth is stalled, the root problems are often the same. No clear understanding of what customers really need. There's poor tracking. You have operations, but they're not scalable. The team isn't aligned, and there's poor communication. No structured process for product improvements, and no visibility into what competitors are doing or how to stay ahead. And a lot of this information was provided by Y Combinator alumni and CB Insights. For those of you that don't know, Y Combinator is a startup accelerator that has backed thousands of startups, including Airbnb, Dropbox, Stripe, and Reddit. So their input matters because they've seen what works and what fails across thousands of companies. And even if top tier startups can hit these roadblocks, we all can too. And this is just a source slide here. So, what do all these problems have in common? They all require tracking, they all require execution, and they all require time. Without documentation, insights vanish and decisions repeat. Where with Notion and the Para method, you can centralize feedback, tasks, research, etc., into one inclusive spot that is organized and easy to find, not just for one person, but company wide. And Notion also has the capability to become a project management system and task manager. So you're able to track and see what's getting done by who, when, are we on time or are we behind? And things require time as well. And a lot of startups, because of disorganization and everything's just going 100 miles an hour, they lose track of what is the top priority at the moment. And when you can organize what is the top priority, and you can track that and keep it at the top of everybody's mind, you get things done, the important things done, more efficiently and certainly. So businesses don't just struggle at the beginning. Many hit a wall when their systems can't keep up with their growth. And that's when Para and Notion come into play. So Para in this scenario is the methodology. It gives you the structure or logic of how you organize your business. And Notion is the tool or the platform that houses everything that brings the methodology to life. What most people think about Notion, and it's exactly what I thought about Notion when I first saw it or used it. I thought it was just a note taking app. I got an account, it was recommended by a friend, opened it up, instantly told myself it was a note taking app, and didn't touch it for months. But what they miss out, and what I missed out initially, it is a customizable database engine. It can be your all-in-one operating system, has the capabilities to be a CRM, company wiki, task manager. You can put roadmaps in it, and it also has AI capabilities built into it. It's not just for individuals, but can scale across teams and departments. A few current updates that Notion has released recently is their AI is now HIPAA compliant, which is really cool for those of you that may be in the health space or insurance. They have 70 native integrations. A few of them are Google, Microsoft, Jira, Slack, GitHub, Zoom, and more. And it has the ability to connect to third-party apps through Zapier, which is, how do I explain it? I won't explain it. I won't go into that now. But you're able to connect 7,000 or more third-party tools if you're using other applications storing data in other places. You can connect it and bring it directly into Notion without needing to manually move and migrate things. Notion now has the ability to create embeddable forms to capture leads or just simplify workflow processes. You now have a calendar that will connect to your databases, your task manager, et cetera, et cetera. And they have Notion Mail that AI can organize your mail for you based on the content, subject line, and whoever sent it to you. So Notion just isn't a note-taking app. It can be a command center for clarity, alignment, and execution. With Para as the structure, Notion becomes your scalable business system, saving you time and money. And time is money. So the ROI of better systems, and this is a conservative, very conservative time savings analysis for a 10-person team. So say you have a 10-person team and each person saves 15 minutes per day just through using a cool system, whether it's in Notion or not. What that will save the team as a whole is 2.5 hours per day. If they continue to use the system and continue to save that amount of time, over the course of a week, they'll save 12.5 hours, monthly 50 hours, quarterly 150 hours, and annually 600 hours, which is equivalent to 75 full working days for the year, just by saving a 10-person team 15 minutes of time per day. So what's kept me motivated and inspired to continue to use Notion, optimize workflows, build systems for clients, and just keeping that as my focus? Clients were able to get up and running with whatever it is a lot faster. There's a client I was working with in the past. They went from an idea to generating revenue in less than 6 months. Fast forward 6 months ahead of time, they were then hosting in-person conferences with more than 1,000 people showing up. And the way that happened was I created a system for him. I gave it to him. We went through it and worked through it together. And we went from start to finish within 3 months. And he took it and ran with it. 9 months later, he was hosting pretty large conferences. A current client increased their social media following by more than 100% over the course of a few months. With this specific client, I showed them a system. a workflow that they could then use. And they used it a little bit, but over time, through using the system, she was able to gather data and feedback and just learn from her following about what they were attracted to. And from that, she changed her social media strategy, and she's now created it to be her own and increased her following by more than 100%. There was another client I was working with who thought her business was capped. She couldn't do any more. She wasn't going to do less, but could not grow anymore. Through putting systems in her business, we figured out a way to scale it. And within that year, she increased her revenue by 33%. Both me and my clients are saving time. There was a marketing agency founder who we set up, again, another system, a workflow for her to use. And just through that one workflow, it took us a month to set up and implement and get the team integrated in on it. But after that month, her hands-on day-to-day working hours were cut in half. Some of my clients that have had successful systems built and optimized and just kind of ready to roll, they're not changing a thing. It can be duplicatable. They're now saving their systems as a template in Notion, and they're selling them to other entrepreneurs. And a current client that I'm working with, since using Para inside Notion, setting goals, achieving those goals, and just moving forward with things a little bit more rapidly, they've now doubled their revenue in less than 6 months. So, 2 more questions, maybe 3. I'm not sure. But the first one is, what are your current thoughts of Para and Notion? Looks like there's some of you are seeing a benefit to it, which is good. And maybe some of you, your systems and processes are super easy and you don't need to do much at all. So this is nearing the end of the presentation. After this, I will open up Notion and kind of show you an overview of the actual system that I have built, the template. And you can actually, if you're interested, get a copy of that template that you can use for yourself. You can keep it, you can do whatever you want with it. And for this one, your answers won't show up on the screen, but please do send me an email. Or no, not an email. That's the next slide. This one, you just put in your answer and I'll get it on my end. And then I will email you if you are the winner. And while those of you are doing that, do send me an email. When I get the email, I will send you the founder system Notion template. And that is all I have.
Jordan, I know that you mentioned you were going to do a Notion demo. Someone also asked earlier about a demonstration of the folders. You mentioned the folders earlier, and she asked, would you provide a sample of the folders and a demo?
Um, like the para folders, is that what she's talking about? I'm
I
assuming.
believe so. I think that's
Okay.
around when it was. Belinda, you're welcome to respond in the chat or in the Q&A if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, we can definitely go into that. I'll make a note here. The the para system or the business OS is already currently set up using the para method. So everything you're looking at in the areas section will be like quote unquote the folders.
Right.
I guess the other question I would have to get a little more specific, is it more life OS oriented or business OS oriented?
Belinda, business, she says.
Okay. Yes, we will definitely dive into that.
Jordan, I also wanted to ask you this since you're about to launch into the demo. I'm sure you can answer this pretty quickly. This person said, we're using Microsoft Teams. Is there an advantage to using Notion and can it easily be integrated with Teams?
Yes, it can easily be integrated. And yes, there is an advantage because you can automate tasks. You can almost, if you have a team and you're using something like Google Workspace or Microsoft Teams or the Microsoft Suite, and you're sending emails back and forth between team members, you can almost eliminate all emails forever just through using a Notion system by automating sent documents into Notion accounts, or you maybe even able to automate emails being sent if you're sold on sending emails as well. um just the automation alone in Notion is worth checking out and diving into, as well as just keeping things organized. Yes, you do have Google Drive or OneDrive through Microsoft that you can organize through Para. But, and I may be wrong on this, but from my assumption and my experience using both of those, Para is now locked to the individual and not company or team wide, unless you do invite them into it, which that can be annoying at times, maybe not. But if you can allow your team or company to have access to certain files all the time simultaneously, it's a major time saver.
Thank you. That's all the questions we have for right now.
Okay. So I'm going to close out the presentation on my side and open up Notion. Is everyone seeing my screen okay?
Yes.
Perfect. I'll do this. Okay, so this is the system that I made. I have decided to call it the founder system. I've been through 800 different names, but it always looks the same. And what your current, I guess I'll go top to bottom. And over here, we have para set up. We have projects, areas, resources, and archives. The main addition to all of this and the para system is the implemented project management system that I built as well inside of it. And we'll peek at that down here once I start adding some things in. So I'll start with a project and we'll use that. Let's say we have a new project we're working on. You can click the new project button. Pretty simple. And we're going to do, the project is build a house, just as an example. And what you're kind of seeing right now is a side view or a side window. Over here is still the original page. And what it does, it opens up a project page. So our project is build a house. The status is not started. You can add start and end dates. We can assign it to areas directly from this page. And I'll just create a new one. Build house area. And we all have resources. What are, at this point, I begin to ask myself, what are the resources I need to build this house? Maybe we have nails. And as you can see over on the main page, this is updating in real time. We have wood, shingles, and now we have tasks. What are the tasks to build this house? I'm thinking right now. I'm going to say contact roofer, contact the framer. And this will be our little mock trial here. So I started a project. I gave it an area and I gave it some resources and some tasks. And I'll close that out. So over here, we now have the resources to our project. And the way the resources is set up, construction is a interesting mock trial use case to use. But sometimes, especially if you're a marketing agency or something, you need to review items that come in and go out. So you're working with a client and they say, I want this picture on my website. They send you an email, you get the picture, you throw that picture into resources, and then it's there. Someone needs to review it to see where this goes, who's using it, what website, et cetera, et cetera. But based off this resource workflow, here's my inbox, and I can change the status to it to in review, and it will move from this tab into this tab. Once it's done being reviewed and everything checks out, it's okay. It is now reviewed. And then you'll find that over here. I'm just going to move all these to reviewed. And now I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And here is the area that we just created. It's the build the house area. And it's going to look, I'm going to guess it's going to look pretty empty right now. But you can assign or put inside the build a house area everything that has to do with house building or construction. Probably should have named it construction to be a little bit more clear. And maybe you have lists of contractors or lists of whoever you get your materials from, et cetera, in here. That way, when you go to build a house, you have all the resources there, not only for you, but the whole team can access it as well. And down here, we now have our new project that we assigned from up here in the projects area. And when we click on this project, we have everything we need. We have all of our tasks. We have all of our resources. And we have the area that it goes into. And this might kick me out of this little page, but as an example, all these resources are actually pages themselves. So if I were to click nails, it will take me over to the nails page. So what do the nails look like? What kind are they? Et cetera, et cetera. And attached to the build a house project are these two tasks. And down in our task manager, we see those tasks that are attached to the project. And the cool thing about all this is by looking at one task, you know everything about it. And when I complete this task, it will update the progress percentage of the project. So just at a glance, you can see how much of that project is complete. And you can assign due dates, et cetera, et cetera. The due date can link to your Notion calendar if you have one or decide to use one. If you don't, I think, well, yeah, now that they have the Google and Microsoft integration, it can also port onto there. I think last week they just included the Apple ecosystem, so you can use Apple iCal as well. But if you set a due date here, it will also update on your calendar. And that's just the general overview of how the project management system works and how all of these areas are interconnected together. And what you're looking at are separate databases. So it's a task database. Here's a completely separate project database and a completely separate resource database. And they're all connected together. So regardless of what you're looking at and what you're clicking on, you'll always have access to everything you need at any point in time. Instead of maybe, hey, here's the build a house project, go do it. And someone says, oh, we need nails for this. What nails do we use? Oh, let me email so and so and they'll tell us what nails we need. If that one person can just put everything inside one project and let everyone have access to it, you save yourself massive amounts of time and energy. And now kind of going into the areas question. The areas can be assigned and made to whatever you want it to be. Everyone's business is going to look, act, and function differently. Another big reason why I like Notion so much is because it is insanely flexible. You can use it however you would like. You can put whatever you would like in it, and you can make whatever that thing is do whatever you want it to do. Um, so, as for what the areas should look like, I can't really tell you because I don't know the exact structure and functions of your business. You would tell yourself how you want it to function, what you want it to do, etc. But something I do have that fits the majority of businesses, you can make some minor tweaks, is a company wiki inside the areas portion. And we'll dive into that. And as I said before, everything you click, shouldn't say everything, but a lot of what you click will open up a little side window of what you're looking at. But you can also make them full pages. That way, if you need to focus on just one thing, you can do so. So we open up the company wiki. And what does the company wiki look like? It looks exactly like the main portion of the system itself. You can make the para system and project management system as scalable as you would like. You can select all of this, create a page, paste it in there, and just keep going down this ever extending rabbit hole. But inside the company wiki, something I put in by default, specifically geared towards founders and startups, but you know, they can scale up along the way as well, is the company wiki. And inside the company wiki are things that you would probably want the majority of your team and or employees to have access to, minus possibly finances or certain partnerships and alliances. And by giving them all access, you reduce the amount of questions and meetings that need to happen that don't necessarily need to happen, because they'll have access to everything at all points in times. Say they have a question about marketing and branding, they can come over here and click it. And in this page would be your logo, rules, regulations, etc., etc. They have a list of your products and services, your operations and SOPs. Maybe someone moves to a new department and they're like, well, what do I do here? They can click inside here and see exactly what to do. They can go to a company overview and see if I can open this up. They can see the mission statement, the vision statement. Maybe you have a big org chart or an organizational structure of which branch is connected to who. Again, this is geared towards startups. If you're a more established business, maybe you have an HR area or a R&D area. And the great thing is, again, once you start setting up databases or items in here, you can connect things together. And just to show you, I'll say a tool or a sort of workflow that I built for a client because I got permission, and I won't show you the whole thing, but I'll show you portions of it just so you kind of get the gist. And then I'll open it up again. So this is mine and what mine looks like. You can change colors and make it look all funky if you would like. But something I did for a client of mine, she does interior design. We set up a sort of lead capture system for her. And here is her website. And there's a little button here to schedule a consultation. We can click that button and it takes you directly to a Notion form where people can book a consultation. They'll fill out the form, click the button. It will then take them to another page where they can pick a time for the meeting, whether it's a phone call or a video conference. When they select, it will update her Notion calendar and her Google Calendar both. And then that person will hop down into her CRM. And what does the CRM look like? Let me come over here. I will show you just kind of a bare bones template of what a CRM kind of looks like. In her instance, it would probably hop up in new lead, and they can keep going down the pipeline until they become a client. Once the card moves into client, I guess I could kind of show you how that looks too. Call this guy Bill. And Bill can have a bunch of notes in there. And we'll move him down the pipeline until he becomes a client. The cool thing is you can now set off an automation that when Bill becomes a client, a new client portal is made. Bill gets sent an email. He accesses the client portal, and you can now begin to work with him. And a lot of these things are very similar to what Salesforce or Go High Level can do. And specifically, more so with Go High Level, it's great at automating the client relation management portion of things. But once they're a client, what happens then? That's kind of where I see it falling off, which is where other tools like Monday.com, Asana, ClickUp, and all those other project management tools kind of come in. But still, none of them are as flexible as what Notion can be for the majority of people. So, back to questions. Let me see here. I do have a list of established successful companies that use Notion. Some of them are Toyota, which they use Notion. They use more of a Kanban styled board. Um, a couple tech companies would be not Figma, Typeform. Actually, no, Figma uses it too. Figma and Typeform. I know there is, I believe it was in 2018, there's a tech company, Argle. They built their pitch deck in Notion. And with that pitch deck, they actually secured $55 million worth of VC funding. And I'm sure there's more out there if you would Google it, type it in, but off the top of my head, that's kind of what I know. I know Snoop Dogg uses Notion, which is kind of cool. Do Are there any other questions currently that I'm not seeing anywhere.
Jordan, there is a question in the chat. This person said, I have encountered some online reviews which praise Notion, especially for solopreneurs and small teams, but which questions security within the model? Any thoughts on that?
So her question is on security. Is that what you had said?
The security, I guess, of information in within Notion.
Oh, okay. Um, as of right now, it's not end to end encrypted. I know data is encrypted while it's being sent somewhere, like the in between, but not on the other ends. So, as far as Notion being completely HIPAA compliant, it is not. The AI is. Um, but I don't think, I haven't researched it, but I have not heard of any sort of security breaches being brought up. That is something, yeah, for me to look into as well to see how secure things are. But yeah, that's kind of kind of how I'd go about that. And was there another question that you had said there was?
We have another question. What is the fee structure for Notion?
So fee wise, you can get a whole lot done, and I mean a whole lot done just using their free version. My so this system that you're currently looking at, I shouldn't say this one. This system you can get by using the free version and free version only. If you go to upgrade, I think the plans start at $10 a month. So pretty affordable. The next step up, I believe, is 15. And then enterprise level would be 25-ish. I know once you start to use AI, that's an added $8 fee, I do believe. But overall, it is very cost effective and affordable. A couple nuggets that I'll call them nuggets that you get with the paid plan are charts and forms, I do believe. And this is kind of what the charts look like. And the charts link to your databases. What you're currently looking at is this social media tool thing that I built. And what this is, the top part, I'm gonna close some of this out so it's easier to look at. This top portion is more of a habit tracker. So what these are doing in this database spreadsheet Excel format looking thing, these are tasks. And what you can do, you can have these tasks repopulate and regenerate every single week. So every Monday, you're going to have these five tasks auto populate for you for your whole week. And as an example, Monday comes around, you respond to messages. Tuesday, ... And you'll just go through this and fill it out. The cool thing about this tracker that I set up is you can set a goal for yourself. So how many days out of the week, what are you shooting for as far as how often do you want to perform these tasks? And in this instance, we picked 5. And if you look, these, I'm going to clear all these out so you can kind of follow along with the logic and how you would use something like this. So we have a fresh week. We're going to click some stuff here. And we'll see our progress. for how much we're actually using and doing these tasks as we, kind of put upon ourselves. And down below the project, it will show you your weekly average of performing these 5 tasks. Well, we set a progress goal of 5. Let's see if we can put the average in here. So we are below average on this week. And next Monday, you can look at it and say, hey, I need to do better, and try to do better and reach those goals. And again, it's tracking the habits and tracking the performance of how you're doing. It's not to say you're doing it wrong. It's just we want to do things better or more efficiently. And down below here, this is a post creation kind of workflow that I had created. And I won't go into the nuts and bolts of it, but let's see if this one is currently set up. So I create a new post. This opens up. This is the wrong one, but that's okay. But there's another one that I have to find. I don't want to waste too much time clicking through 3 different versions that I made. But the way it functions is you can select the platform, select what type of content pillar you want the post to be about, the tone of voice, and then you can input your company info, so your company description. And depending on what platform you selected, as an example, if it's Twitter, you can set and tell AI, hey, make a post about, let's say, pizza, for whatever reason. Make a post about pizza, and it will pull data from the topic you gave it, pull company data that you assigned it, and it'll make 10 to 20 Twitter posts that you can then use. And you can then assign it to a calendar, so you have a little calendar to schedule your posts, and it will tell you how many posts you have in each content pillar as well. And this chart up here was in the wrong spot, but this is actually what this chart is telling you is how close you are to your average, the average amount of tasks that you're completing on time. Bounced around a lot there, so hopefully that was easy enough to follow. I think if there's questions, I will answer them. If not, I would like to kind of show you how to navigate an empty Notion page. Let me see here. I think I answered this one. Are there any other questions that I haven't gotten to yet?
There's no more questions at this moment. If everyone would just want to take a few seconds, we'll just give everyone a few more seconds to type in any questions they might have.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. I believe there's no more questions. Jordan, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Not too much. The one thing I do want to show people, because I know when I first started using Notion, I was very not confused, but just did not know what to do. um, when you first start using Notion, you're going to look at a page similar to this, and it's going to give it a title called title. And now you have a page, and you can use it just like any other note taking app or document, etc., etc. But what you will notice, which a lot of platforms and applications are starting to update how their documents are and function, because Notion uh, kind of flipped the script on everything. And when you hover over an empty line, you'll see this little, I call them grabber bar things. I'm not sure what the actual name for them is, but you see a little thing that you can grab and a plus button. You might also see something that says press space for AI or backslash for commands. And that is really what makes Notion come alive. If I click this plus button, I'm going to get a menu. Or if I hit the backslash button, I'm also going to get that same menu. There's just two different ways to kind of go about it. But within this menu is where you have oodles of options to begin creating a workflow or a database or something to house your content and data. You can create headings, bulleted lists, very basic stuff. You can have quotes to kind of segment or highlight different words. But what I find to be the absolute best thing to use is called a database. I believe it is called inline. So an inline database will put the database inside the current page that you're on. Database full page will create a whole new page just for that database. And this is what a database looks like, almost like an Excel spreadsheet. And just in this instance, I'm going to create a very quick task manager. And when you click these plus buttons for new columns, you get more options. You can add phone numbers, emails, URLs. I know somebody who's a friend of mine, he figured out a way to connect this phone number option to Twilio, and he can now make phone calls directly outside or through Notion. But there's all these different properties that you can add in. So we're just going to give this name name a task. And you can do doing, done, not done, started, etc., etc. And then you can assign statuses to whatever this may be. So now we have a database. We can change the view of this database as well by clicking this little plus button. We can turn it into a Trello or a Kanban style board where you can move cards across. We can turn it into a timeline view. So if you assign it a date, you can view the timeline overview. You can view the calendar view. And it is all pulling data from this one single database. So if we add an end date, we can now see it on our timeline and our calendar. But I just encourage those of you that do decide to dive into Notion is to explore and tinker and just click as many things as possible. And over time, you will learn how to figure it out. And if you don't become an expert as quickly as what you would like to do, there's always templates that you can download through the Notion marketplace, or there's people giving away templates all the time. Some are paid, a lot are free. But to get up and running, especially with the business OS side of things, please send me an email and I will give it to you ASAP. But that is all I currently have inside Notion. If there's nothing more that people would like to see inside Notion that I've built or created, cool, I will turn off my screen. But if there are, feel free to drop a question in the chat.
It seems like there's no more questions, so we'll start wrapping up now.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Jordan, for teaching today. Coming up, we have more webinars on every third Wednesday of the month, including our May 21st webinar on human resource compliance as you grow your company. You can find these webinars and any other Jumpstart and partner events at jumpstartinc.org/events. At the end of today's session and in the follow-up email, you'll receive a brief survey. We appreciate your feedback as it allows us to continue to bring experts and entrepreneurs to teach valuable lessons. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.